Alright, this is a guide for, or I don't know, showing slash guide for Whirlwind Paladin. So basically, why is my damage so high? Basically, Whirlwind Paladin is very, very strong for boss killing, and it's pretty much the best thing you can do, I think. If you're doing always P8, you might want to do Zeal instead, but I like this one more because blocking doesn't mess with your attacks, so it's a lot nicer, I think. But anyways, so basically the basics of it is you use Talix Triumph and you also use Holy Freeze. And so that'll just give you a ton of damage on your Whirlwind and you'll reach very high numbers. So um, the gear kind of depends, I guess. Obviously you need Talix. And I don't know, you can just kind of use whatever you want. If you get a World Star, you should probably do it on the gloves, and if you have Viridium as well, because then you can get these to really high Pierce values. This one rolled really good. Well, the Crusader Gauntlet base got 3 instead of 2. That's the only Pierce roll that rolled really good. But it also has some life and some stuff, so it's nice. And anyways, that gives you a bunch of Pierce, and everything else is just kind of your choice of survivability slash damage. I went for very high survivability, as you can see all the reses are really high. Because primarily I do players 1, and also if you get too much damage, you actually won't do any damage. So you can actually, like around what my paladin is at is like the maximum. You literally can't do more damage than this. So if I just like go over here, you can see I whirlwind, everything kind of dies in one hit. If I switch to this amulet, which boosts my damage up to that number, and I whirlwind through them, they do not take as much damage. So you have to be careful about that. It's more easy to notice on like P8. Go to World Stone. So I just whirlwind through these guys, and they just don't die. But I switch to my less damage amulet. Now we're only doing 60 to 78, and they just die instantly. So, I don't know. Be careful. It's just an oddity. It's the damage cap is higher for Zeal than Whirlwind. I don't know why. It's just the way it is. But yeah, I like Whirlwind more, so that's why this is. And I think it's more effective. But anyways, so basically, the gear, you want to be really high res because you can't proc for it. Or you're not going to proc for it, at least. You want... I don't know. The chest I have is like a 30% cold damage one. And then from like the new ice chests. And then also augmented with 30% cold. And then 3-socketed. It also has the cannot be frozen jewel in there. At least with my setup, there's no good way to get the cannot be frozen. So like I ended up just having to do this, and it really kind of makes me sad. But like every other slot, I lose a lot. So yeah, it kind of sucks. Feels bad. So yeah, some Illyria's Tears can help you get higher max res, 3 jams, blah blah blah. This thing. Um, yeah. Obviously, no one's gonna have the same gear as this, so. Charms, just offensive, pierce, and you also get life regen to offset this cannot be frozen thing. Yeah, I think that's everything. So you get 45 pierce. You also want to have a bow set as well as a Nature's Peace. Nature's Peace is what you use to kill the Sanctum boss, and you use Moset for whatever it's called. I forget. So if you're poor, you would use charge to move around, but if you're rich, you get Harpy Shield, and then you also run Vigor on swap, and then you can move. Well, I don't know if you move faster, but like it's a lot nicer moving because you won't get stuck in the charge animation, and then you just zoom, which is very preferable to using charge in my opinion. The other thing, this has those jewels in it to get 95 poison res. That's just because I don't know. It's if you get poisoned while running, it can be kind of hard to not lose your HP. So making sure that you always have 90 or really high poison res in general is good. Yeah, I think that's everything. Use this Valor, torch, whatever. Nice belt. Skill build. You could do basically you want to max Holy Freeze and its synergies, and then you can put up Vigor and Aura Mastery as much as you want, and then also Defiance for physical res that you want. You end up with 42 physical res, at least with my setup, and that's with using the 20% augment. Don't know where I guess this gives, no, that doesn't. I don't know where the rest of it's coming from besides that and this, but yeah. So I'll just show it off. You can either do players 3, players 1, players 5, players 7, I guess. But like because it's for boss killing, generally you want to do players 1 or players 3. Just because the drops don't really get better on higher player counts, you just get more EXP. So I'll do P3 to show it, but I'd recommend P1. I also have Merc, of course. Well, normally you don't use Merc for Sanctum because you don't want him to accidentally steal a kill and make it so that the guy corpse explodes. And also he kind of just dies unless you get him super geared. And mine isn't super geared, so I just let him be dead for this one. So basically you can either run past everything or you can kill the elites you find. The only thing that's going to do a lot of damage to you suddenly is if you get hit by all of the magic meteor things. It's not really very easy to fit magic resistance into the build, so you just have to dodge them pretty much. It's kind of annoying, honestly. Usually I don't kill stuff in Sanctum. Sanctum is kind of like there's just no reason to. You can just, if you want to kill some elites, you can do it in Cave of Horrors. Yeah. Kill some stuff around Anu if you want. Make him a bit easier. And you do have to be a bit careful. Holy shit. Fuck. Fuck me. So I guess the smart thing to do would be to lead the things away, but I didn't want to. It's been a while since I've ran Sanctum. I'll try to get a nice clean run, but if you want to not die, don't go 427 dex. You could just go like 200, or you could just use a normal hat and get your pierce elsewhere. So you have more than 2,000 life. I just use it because, I don't know. It's what I feel like. Also, just a note with the way the damage works is that your percent cold mastery, like I have 138, that applies twice. So it applies to your Holy Freeze damage and then also applies on the hit. So that is like a very valuable stat for this build. So that's why Verovium's so good and why this thing increases our damage so much. Also, another thing is that there's a damage cap on Holy Freeze. This is separate from me doing 0 damage. Somewhere around 32,000. It just won't give you more damage than that. You can... I wonder if you can see if I take this off. Oh. I don't get to it without the Verovium. But yeah, around there is the damage cap. Any more skill points or mastery or whatever won't make you do more damage. So, just another thing to keep in mind, I guess. Normally I don't do Anu because I already have tons of amulets. Just kind of showing it off. I don't do Sanctum in general. Sanctum's kind of, I don't know. I occasionally like run it to get some jewels to craft. Get back here. Bro. No, I got stuck in this. So, I don't know. The other zones you do with this, by the way, for those of you not familiar with like boss killing stuff, is what are they? Ubers and let's check this. Ubers and I can't believe I can't remember this. Ubers and Cave of Horrors. Those are the other two common things you do with this. Everything else is kind of more effectively done by other builds, so you just don't do it with the WW Paladin. Wait, I guess I should mention the Moset. So Moset is like the attacks ignore resistance of demons. So that happens before Pierce. Or after Pierce, I mean. So like if I attack a demon, it'll be like he has 0 res, not negative 45. And so for a lot of zones, you actually makes it so that Pierce isn't too important, mostly for Ubers. Also, I need to make sure I have the right ring on. So, I don't know. When you're doing this boss, make sure you don't get hit by meteors. But he's tanky on players 3. Normally he'd be dead by now. Make sure you don't get hit by meteors, and the bats that spawn out of those nests, I guess, they don't create meteors. So once you kill the initial bats, you're pretty much good to go. Do Ubers next. So if you want to be really efficient, you make a teleport necro to get your keys, or you can just get them yourself. It's whatever. What player count? I think I normally did Ubers on P5. So for Sanctum, I don't think that player count really affects drops, but for Ubers it actually does. So you want to try to at least run P5. If you don't have as much gold res as I do, by the way, you can run a Fortify item and proc Fortify before you whirlwind that guy, otherwise you'll just melt. But it should be pretty easy. What's my gold res? Wow, only 95? What the? Oh, because I use Eggers. Because like the this thing gives you 5 max gold res. So that helps get you to 95. If you have like 90, it's like really noticeable how much less or how much more damage you take. Like every one counts. So yeah, Ubers are easier than Sanctum, obviously. I could probably do this on like P7 if I wanted to. Let's try this one. This zone is the worst for Zeal, by the way, because so much stuff hits you, and you have to like cap attack speed against the boss. Kind of just sucks. That's still pretty quick. Nice build. Yeah, then the last zone you might do is Cave of Horrors. Well, yeah, thing about the Ubers is that they... Well, this isn't really... I might as well talk about it, I guess. The way they spawn is like based off of how you explore the zone. So if you're in multiplayer, it doesn't really matter because you have a new map every time. But in single player, if you explore the same way, like you go... The tiles that you load are the same every time, they'll spawn in consistent locations. So that can be useful. And that applies to Sands and Matrons. It probably... Well, it should apply to... What's the other one? To Furnace as well, but it doesn't really matter because you can't really choose where to go in that one. But if you're doing Ubers for a really long time, it's worth finding a map you really like. It's also possible that if you So it spawns in a certain number of tiles, as far as I know. So like, once you create the zone, it'll say once you load the 11th tile, within that tile, Uber Duriel will spawn. And so what that can result in is that when you load the 11th tile that you load, if that tile doesn't have a valid spawn location for the boss, sometimes they just won't spawn. So like while I was doing tons of Ubers, if I got... for matrons is really easy to see. In matrons, if I kind of went like north, right, and then explored to the right. Yeah, I went north, left, and then explored to the upper right. And then the amount of tiles there was... The amount of tiles I could load... What is that item? Oh, it's just the quartz jewel. The amount of tiles that I could load was almost always the correct number. Like, it was almost always within the amount of tiles she could spawn in, if I went to that direction. So what would happen very rarely is that if she gets the maximum like spawn time, because it's random, like let's say it's a range from 4 tiles loaded to 20 tiles. I don't know, that's just an example. So normally it would be weighted towards spawning during the earlier tiles, but if the very rare chance happens where it spawns on the 20th tile, I could consistently make her not spawn due to the tile that she should load in on. I would load a tile that did not have a valid spawn location. So this is all very useless, but I think it's interesting. And I don't have anything else to say while I'm just killing stuff. So, wait, one like little flaw about this, it's not really a flaw, it's just that you don't have any extra MF. And it's kind of nice to have extra MF because you're doing boss killing, so they have a higher chance of uniques than most area killing. So, I don't know, you could probably fit some in there if you want to. It's not really that big of a deal. I remember I looked it up. The difference between 150 and 200 MF, I think was like, or no, 150 to 250 MF, I think it was like you get 15% more. Is this still on P7? I completely forgot. Yeah, 50% more. No, wait, not 50%. You got like 15% more unique drops, which is like almost nothing, so. I don't know. If you want. So in or what is this? Cave of Horrors, it's not a bad idea to actually kill the... Or actually I'll do players 3. It's not a bad idea to kill the elites because each of them drop 2 unique, or 2 items instead of 1 like normal uniques. So it's kind of like you get double or whatever. Yeah, if you get put into the like whirlwind animation where you're stuck in it, just swap your weapons and you'll get out. That's also pretty important. For these guys are the most important thing to have Pierce for. For Ubers, it doesn't really matter how much Pierce you have because they're all demons, so most set will just put them to 0. But these guys are not demons, and they all have high res and high tankiness, so it's actually important to get a decent amount of Pierce. So usually if I'm doing Cave of Horrors, I make sure my Merc's alive. And I give him, you can give him this, and then some survivability items. The shield is dumb, by the way, don't use this shield. It's not good. I just haven't bothered to change it, and usually he doesn't die anyways, so. But with this setup, I think he does like negative 37 res or something. I don't know, it's pretty good. So yeah, you can just go in and start whirlwinding them all. Just juve if you need to, or go back to town. You don't need juves. Merc will help tank a bit. Oh yeah, you might have noticed that I'm not using Holy Shield. I don't have a good explanation for that. I just never put points into it. It's not like you're point starved, but it just feels like they're better spent elsewhere. And this way you also don't have to cast at the start of each game. What was I talking about? Something about golems or something. I don't remember. Yeah, I have no clue. So, yeah, this is a really nice amulet, by the way. If you can get, this took a lot of sacreds to get, but if you get something with like enchantment of X plus aura effect plus max res, and then also all res if you need that, then it's pretty good. Oh yeah, there was something. How do I have 50%? What the fuck? Dude, is that like more than last time? What the fuck? It was like 41 before. Oh, this thing gives physical res, right? Oh, that's so nice. You also have high block chance. 75% chance to block as long as you have enough dex. You can use Holy Shield if you want to get it to 100. I just don't because I don't want to cast it. It's kind of annoying to swap your skills around. With the way I have it set up right now, is that I never need to swap skills. The Harpy is always on Vigor, and the main skill is always on Whirlwind. Makes it very nice. I also have 2 points in Zeal. This was just for testing. I should get rid of that. I was trying out Zeal earlier, and I reaffirmed my belief that Holy Freeze is better, so... It's just Zeal, the blocking just makes it not enjoyable. And also it's more... Well, it's not more micromanaging, because you can just choose not to use... you can just choose not to use charge, but... I don't know. You have to get more attack speed and stuff, so you can't really use something like this. You'd have to use a Ruby Craft. And I don't know, it's just less fun. Oh yeah, this has ITD, by the way. This corrupted ITD, so I don't have to worry about accuracy. It's really hard to get accuracy, I think. I think it's actually surprisingly difficult. So I don't really have any good tips there. Probably just you have to sacrifice some damage and run some charms to get some. And that's really all I got. So I'm gonna try to show the Matron's Den thing. Just because I think it's really interesting, kind of. So here we are in Matron's Den. So now Lilith has decided a random number of tiles we need to load until she spawns. So if we go up here, that's one tile loaded because the monsters appeared on our map. And so the fastest she can spawn, and that's another tile loaded. I think if I go too far to the right here, it loads one, which I don't want to do. I forgot to finish putting up my skill points. Nice. What am I on right now? What I usually do is I put up this until it says that there will be no increase. So here, 62 to 62. That's when I stop putting it up. And then 1 point into this. Oh yeah, I forgot to max salvation. Everything else is good, right? Yeah. And then you put the rest into Defiance for some nice physical res. You could do other things if you want. Defiance is good though. So then it kind of breaks at the start. It fixes when you go between games how much Defiance you have. Or how much res you get from those passives. So anyways, so we're here. And so we can load another thing by going up. This is usually the way I go. And now we have another thing. So the next tile is the minimum amount she can spawn in. The next one is we load. So when I go over here, the next thing that I load, it could contain her. And it doesn't. So the next one could also contain her. So we're going to keep going. It doesn't. And so the next one could contain her, and it does. So that's that. That would be, you know, one example of what could happen based off how many tiles are loaded. But since I did this so many times, I did Uber so many times, I have a very good understanding of what can happen. So if I go up here, let's just imagine she didn't spawn there. So then I go up here, I load this tile, kill these monsters or whatever. And then there are 2 more times that she can load it. So that doesn't count as loading because we already loaded those monsters. That counts as loading. And so at this point, we actually know that the next tile we load will contain Lilith, assuming she can spawn. So if we go all the way to the left and then load 1 more tile over there, then we'll actually see her and she'll spawn and we can observe that every time. But if we go over here, then we didn't get to see it this time, but there's another little bit that can be loaded like right around here. Sometimes there's some boxes and stuff for some enemies. And Lilith actually cannot spawn when you load there, so she actually just won't spawn. And then it'll mess up the thing and she won't spawn anywhere else. So after I load that, I could go over here and I could go up here and she just would not be here. And she wouldn't be anywhere in the entire zone. So that's interesting. I don't know. There's also some tiles that she can spawn in walls in. I don't know exactly what they are, but in this map at least there's no, and the way I explored it, there was no chance of her spawning in a wall, but it's possible. So if you notice that, you have to change how you explore the tiles. So yeah, that's mostly useful for matrons and Forgotten Sands. Sands is also, there's a, it's not like it's abuse, but it's like a trick where if you explore the edges, it makes him spawn a lot faster. So like we just explored like, I don't know, 2 tiles or something. By the way, I'm not sure if, like I think that the area you see around you is like a 3x3 amount the game should load. I don't know exactly how it works, but I don't know if it's like the amount of times that new tiles were explored or the amount of those tiles explored. So anyways, if you make sure to explore these edges, you'll actually find that Duriel spawns faster because you are ticking up the thing, ticking up the counter. So normally I would do it like this, over here, and then normally he would spawn by now, like by now or before this, but occasionally he'd be up here, and very, very occasionally he'd be like right in the corner there. That was very rare though. And also he would never appear up there. So there was another map I had a while ago, which had a better, what do you call this? A better Sands map. The way I could explore that one, he would make it so that he would always spawn within like the first 50%. Let me just finish killing these guys. He'd always spawn within like that kind of area. But this one is a bit worse. You have to check up there sometimes. So yeah, that's just, I don't know. That's a thing. But yeah, great build. I don't think I have anything else to talk about. I guess you could also do like act bosses if you want. He's good for act bosses, just because you can run so fast, and obviously you're gonna kill him like instantly. So yeah, I don't know. Where's his chest? Dude. How the fuck is this so hard to see? Can I just find it on the ground? Oh. There it is. Was I just not noticing that? Either way. Great build. Sorry for the rambling about random stuff. But yeah. Actually, planning out what you're gonna say is like way too hard. Just put this, I don't know, here I guess. What is that? Bad. This is bad. And this one is also bad. Nice bit of essence. Yeah, I don't have anything else to say. See ya. See ya.